This is a story about how social media connected a group of friends from different parts of the world, which led on to a number of incredible experiences, including the best fishing trip of my life. My name is Alex, and along with my brother Carl, who is sat just behind the camera filming, we make videos on YouTube. We're YouTubers, I guess. We spend our lives traveling outdoors, going fishing, and making videos about our experiences. Over the years, I have realized more and more how incredible the internet is and how it has helped us in our lives in so many different ways. For Carl and I, as YouTubers, we wouldn't have this job if it wasn't for the internet. And it's also allowed us to meet new people and make new friends, which is very special indeed. Back in 2015, we started talking to a couple of guys, Brendan and Austin. They were brothers, like us, and they were also very keen fishermen. We wanted to get talking to Brendan and Austin because we wanted some new fishing buddies to go fishing with. We were intrigued to know where on earth they were catching these fish from, so we popped them a message and they replied saying, "We are from Michigan, United States." Certainly not the response we were expecting. We thought they'd be quite close to home, but this is what started our journey into discovering what fishing opportunities are available in the USA. Over the following months, we messaged Brendan and Austin more and more. We got to know them a bit better. We planned a trip which would enable them to come over to us, experience the fishing opportunities in the UK, and then after that we were going to fly out to them and see what the USA had to offer. It was quite nerve-wracking and we were unsure with how we would get along with Brendan and Austin. We'd obviously talked to them a lot online. Luckily though, they were great people. They had incredibly funny personalities and we got along really well. It was really enjoyable for Carl and I to show the guys around our local area, show them some of the fishing that we had on offer in the UK. But what was more exciting for us was heading out to the USA. They have got so much water out there, so much water to explore and go fishing at, and they've also got so many carp. The next time we met up with Brendan and Austin was a couple of years later, I think in 2018. We also made a new friend that trip, Brian. Now Brian has been friends with Brendan and Austin for a while and they all go fishing together. So it was really nice to meet up with him as well for this trip. It was kind of like the first trip. They took us on a crazy tour of Michigan and the waters that they like to fish, and we just had the most mind-blowing carp fishing experience. What a morning. The best morning's carp fishing I've ever had. This is a true Michigan monster and my second biggest carp I've ever caught in my life. Before we'd even got to the end of that trip, we were already planning the next one because we just couldn't get enough of this carp fishing. We were just thinking about the next time. And we wanted to do something a bit bigger, a bit better. Brendan, Austin and Brian had heard stories of a lake quite a bit further south than where they live, in the state of Tennessee. Dale Hollow is a 30,000 acre reservoir which was formed by the damming of the Abay River in 1943. Since then, this huge water has become a home to many fish species, such as bass, muskie, and even large carp. This was our next destination. 1 year later, and it was time for another adventure. This time we had put more effort, money, and research into the planning of this trip in hope that it would be better than any other USA trip we'd done before. Unfortunately though, not all of us would be going. Carl sadly fell ill a few weeks before the trip, which meant that he wouldn't be joining us. It was kind of sad because Carl and I do go on all of our fishing adventures together. It was going to feel strange without him. But in the middle of April, I jumped on a plane alone and headed out to the USA. The plane landed in Michigan, but once I arrived at their house, it was time to do a lot of preparation. There was lots of bait to make up because we were going to be on the bank for 2 weeks. There was a trailer to be packed full with all of our kit. We were basically going down south and we were going to be living on a lake for 2 weeks. Brendan got in his truck with the trailer attached. This was the first time Brendan had ever driven with a trailer. I remember he pulled out of his drive of his house and the trailer bashed on the ground. It was so heavy, with so much fishing tackle and so much bait and food that we weren't sure whether this was even going to be safe. But we just thought, we'll take it easy, we'll drive slowly and hope, fingers crossed, it would be okay. We had planned the drive so that we would be arriving really early morning, which was so perfect because the sunrise was as we were coming closer and closer to the lake. We actually got lost one of the roads we turned up. We ended up in someone's backyard. After we got out of that mess, we got on the road again, got to a marina where we parked the car up. We looked out over a massive expanse of water and I thought, whoa, this lake is big. Until I realised what I was looking at was actually just one small channel of the lake. When I flew the drone up and saw what it was actually like, this was just a tiny section of this huge piece of water. I then looked at the map inside the local shop. I was a bit overwhelmed by how big this place was. I wasn't sure whether we would be able to catch anything out of this place. There was a number of things we had to get figured out before we were able to start fishing. Luckily, we had been able to book up a pontoon. Now, the way it kind of works there is you can hire either houseboats or pontoons on the water, and then you can basically just take them out on the lake for as long as you book them for. We were loading the pontoon up with all of our fishing tackle and driving it to a spot on the lake where we would be staying for 2 whole weeks. So we got our tickets from the shop. I also noticed some fish mounts on the wall. There was a huge bass and then a massive muskie as well. This sure was getting us excited for a couple of weeks of fishing. We got the pontoon loaded and we were heading out into a vast expanse of water. But where on earth were we going to choose to actually set up base camp? Luckily, Brian had an app on his phone which showed all the depths of the lake, and we could see the shallow areas, the deep areas, the structure. And so we used this to our advantage. We were primarily fishing for carp, and because it was April, in springtime, the water was going to be warming up, and so we were looking for shallower water. This meant we could narrow down where we wanted to start. We found an area which had some really nice flats, probably only half a metre under the water, and we could see them quite clearly, especially when I flew the drone up and looked down. We realised that the depth went down to about 15 feet, and this seemed like the perfect area. We drove for, must have been over an hour in the pontoon to get to the spot where we wanted to set up base camp. But it was well worth it because once we were out there, we were in pure wilderness. There was no one else about. We had managed to get ourselves into the middle of nowhere. With so much water and so many areas these fish could be located at, how on earth were we going to draw them into our spot, our area? And this is where the guys had previous experience of. They had fished some big waters up in Michigan, so they already knew the best way to do this was by using large quantities of bait. We were going for more of a bait and weight approach rather than trying to find where they were. But we had picked an area where the depths looked okay, and now it was time to put loads of bait in and try and attract them directly into the area where we hoped to fish. The first and second night were uneventful. We had kind of expected a slow start, but the excitement had definitely calmed down a little as we sort of realised this wasn't going to be as easy as we first thought. Yeah, we spent 3 days not catching anything, but we kept on baiting. That was the main thing. We kept on putting in bait trying to draw the fish in. This was going to be the hardest part, trying to get those fish onto the area and feeding. The first bit of fish action came on the third evening. I was doing some bass fishing with a lure and I hooked into a bass. It was pretty cool. It jumped clear out the water and it turned out to be quite a nice sized largemouth bass. I thought that this might be the start of our good luck. But what actually ended up happening was this being the start of a pretty dreadful night. I hooked into a fish that night in the early hours of the morning. We were so excited. We'd managed to hook one of these carp, and it can't have been that far out when it started grating on some rocks on the drop-off. And yeah, the worst thing happened.
Oh no, it's kicking off.
No! No! No!
Man, it just kicked off.
First bite of the session, lost it. That feels bad. So bad. All we can do is cast it back out. That rod was just in open water out there, pretty much just as far as I could get it. And damn it. However painful it was losing that first carp, it showed one thing. It showed that the carp had started feeding in our area. Something else we noticed was the weather started changing. It swapped from being calm and sunny to incredibly windy and cloudy. This weather change we've noticed often helps fishing. For some reason it gets the carp on the feed. This was the case, and the following night we managed to catch our first fish.
Okay, there we go. You're good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I cannot believe it. I just caught in the other line. I'm scared, man. This could be big.
It's a mirror too.
Is it?
It's a mirror, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my god. Come on. Yes! We've got it. Oh my god. Oh, it is a beast. Oh my, oh, that's the longest, biggest fully scaled I've ever caught in my life. Yes, look at that, man. I came all this way to America to catch one of these monster fullies from Dale Hollow, and this happened. We just got on the scales and it went 31 pounds. My first fish from Dale. And it is what the place is known for, these incredible fully scaled mirrors. Anyway, for now we're going to get it in the retainer, leave it in the margins and get some proper film and photos in the morning. This is the exact reason we came to Dale Hollow, because it's known for these incredible fully scaled which grow to enormous sizes, and this one is over 30 pounds. Oh, yes. Oh,
Crazy, wild looking fish.
this is just immense. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks to all the guys for taking me here, because I couldn't have done it on my own. Oh boy, that's why we came here.
This seemed to be the turning point in the trip. The fish had switched from feeding on their natural food sources to the bait that we had been putting in over the course of 3 or 4 days at this point. It's kind of like feeding birds in your garden. If you put up a feeder, they're not going to instantly find it and eat it all. It's going to take them a while, but after a week or two, they're going to realise there's a good free food source there, and they're going to be on it every day. And that is exactly what I think happened, as the following few days produced a lot more fish. The way we targeted these carp and the way we tried to catch them was with balls of ground bait. It's called pat bait over there, which is basically a mix of breadcrumbs and cream corn and some flavourings as well. We mixed that together into a consistency where you could ball it up. We squeezed this around the lead to create a bit of attraction. And then as a hook bait, as the bait which was attached to the hair rig on the hook, we used a couple of tiger nuts. Now we use tiger nuts for a couple of reasons. They're obviously a great carp fishing bait, but also tiger nuts withstand the turtles. They have a lot of turtles out there, and if you use anything soft, the turtles are going to eat them, take them off the hook, and you'll end up with no bait on. But tiger nuts would stay on the hook whether the turtles picked them up and pecked at them. They would stay there waiting for the carp to come along. Life on the bank after 1 week was pretty tough, I would say. I kind of felt like I was done and I wanted to come home after about 7 days. We're so used to luxuries in life, having enough electricity, having a shower every day. We've got so used to it that after a week on the bank, I was almost ready to come home. I wanted a shower, I wanted to watch TV, watch a film, I wanted to eat some proper food, but we were there on a mission to catch carp, and we were going to stick at it for the whole time. We were roughing it, but we were going to stay till the end. I think it must have been on the 8th day we went for a lake wash.
He's gone right under.
Oh, the water was quite cold still, so I didn't really like it. I kind of just dipped under quickly and washed myself, but that was how we got our washing done. Aside from the fishing, there was quite a lot of other stuff going on, notably the wildlife that surrounded us on the lake. At night, it was kind of spooky at times because you'd hear the distant call of a coyote, which is similar to a wolf. And listening to that at night, while you're sat there, miles away from civilization, is actually pretty scary. They're pretty fierce looking animals. We never actually got to see one face to face that trip, but we heard them in the distance. Some of the wildlife which I did manage to see and that I did manage to get the camera on and film was these turkey vultures. I saw them picking at a catfish, I think it was. There were a few of those. They're massive, great big birds, and they were really cool to watch. The fishing over the course of our trip went in phases. It would pick up and we'd get a few nights of good action, but then it would just stop and go dead, and then we wouldn't catch for a few nights. This was kind of strange, but I think it was quite closely related with the weather conditions. When it was very calm and sunny, clear skies, not much seemed to happen on the fishing front, but when we went through periods of windy weather, where the waves would be crashing over on the shore and the rain coming down, we tended to have the best fishing.
I'm so happy to have caught such a range of fish this trip, from big commons, fully scaled, and even one like this.
Brian and Austin decided that they were going to attempt to find another spot on another part of the lake, so that we were obviously covering more water, and they just wanted to explore some other areas. They went off one evening in the pontoon. They took the pontoon into the mist, and as they disappeared, it was pretty scary seeing them just go through the mist and off into the distance, up to find a new area to go fishing at. We said to them before we left, send us a message when you get there, let us know what the swim's like. Anyway, as they disappeared and went off, many hours went past into the night and we hadn't heard from them. Now we knew the cell service was dodgy, but at the same time, watching them head off into the mist, I just thought if they don't have a compass, then it's so easy to get lost and get grounded on one of the shallow bars and islands. So this kind of freaked us out. We hadn't heard from them for a couple of days. Brendan was stressing because he thought his brother had gone forever. We thought they'd got lost and tipped the houseboat or something. We were thinking of the worst. But there was nothing we could do. There was physically nothing we could do. We were texting them, phoning them, but cell service was bad, I guess, and we couldn't get through to them. Anyway, they did return eventually, and it was the biggest relief ever. We were very grateful for seeing them again. And it turned out their phone had just run out of battery. But they had some very good news when they came back, and they said they had found an incredible spot and they had caught so many carp, and they brought the camera over and showed us all the fish they were catching and all the footage they'd got whilst they'd found this new spot. So whilst they were having a great time catching loads of fish, me and Brendan were back in the swim kind of worrying about them, where they'd gone. The fish we were catching blew our minds. Just the scale patterns on some of them, the colours, how they varied from fish to fish. Some of them were darker in colour, some of them were orangey, red, golden colours. Carp are beautiful, and over in the UK, we absolutely treasure them as a species. But interestingly, where we were at Dale Hollow and in the USA, they have a very different mindset on carp. They treat them as trash fish, fish that you might as well kill and put on your garden. Because we were getting bass anglers who were passing our swim, shouting over to us, "What are you fishing for?" And we would say, "Oh, we're fishing for carp." And they would just look at us, "What are you doing with them? You putting them on your garden as fertilizer or something? Are you gonna eat them?" They just didn't quite have the same love for them as we did. We were nearing the end of our trip now. We had caught numbers of incredible carp, some quite big ones up to 30 pounds. Also, we'd done some bass fishing and caught some nice smallmouth and largemouth bass. But we still had a few days left. We still had a few days to persevere and try and get something even bigger. This lake is known to have carp over 40 pounds. Knowing that in the back of our heads that they go that big is what kept us putting in the effort every night. We could have reeled in the rods overnight and had a good night's sleep, but no, each night we put in the effort, rebaited the rods, rebaited the spots, and we kept at it. And this paid off, because I think it was the second to last night. Brendan had his biggest carp of the trip, and I caught something I would have never have even expected to catch. It was insane. The last 2 weeks of fishing has been absolutely incredible. Some of the fish we've caught, the scenery that we've spent the time in, it's just been the most insane trip. But to catch this absolute monster on the second to last night, I'm just blown away. I mean, we know fish like this are in here, but to actually see one for ourselves and catch one is just unbelievable. Let's check it out. Oh my God, it's so big.
The rest of the tail on it.
Look at that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What a carp.
That is insane.
And what a way to end what has been probably the best 2 weeks of carp fishing of my life. I never thought we could top the America trip we did last year, but somehow we have. And it's thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for taking me here.
No, man.
Loved every minute of it.
Loved it, dude.
It's been unreal. It's been unreal.
It was a very special end to the trip, not only because I just caught one of the biggest carp of my life, but also I was able to experience that moment with 3 incredible friends who somehow, out of luck, I don't know how it ever happened, but we managed to meet them back in 2015, and it had resulted in a number of adventures, including this one, which just ended perfectly. The only downside was that Carl couldn't have joined us. That was the only thing that bugged me, and it was the only thing that was quite sad. Carl couldn't have been there to experience that insane time. Luckily though, I am happy to say that Carl is better now, he's recovered from his illness, and we're gonna go back one day. Carl and I, together, we're gonna go out there, meet up with the guys again, and we're gonna fish that lake. We're gonna do it all over again, because it was an insane journey, and one that I will never forget. If you want to watch some of our other adventures, feel free to click one of the videos on screen now. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.